Good morning แล้วก็สวัสดีผู้เข้าร่วมสัมมนาทุกท่านนะคะขอต้อนรับสู่งานสัมมนา Pitching Your Dreams to Investor Your Product to Customers นะคะซึ่งเป็นงานที่จัดขึ้นโดยศูนย์บ่มเพาะธุรกิจสวทช.ในความร่วมมือของซอฟต์แวร์พาร์คนะคะโดยต้องขอบคุณคุณสมเกียรติชินธมิตรจากบริษัท Wealth Management System นะคะที่ได้แนะนำวิทยากรแล้วก็เป็นผู้ที่มีความรู้มีประสบการณ์ให้เรานะคะซึ่งต้องบอกว่าวันนี้นะคะขอให้พวกเราตั้งใจฟังแล้วก็จะได้รับความรู้ที่นำไปปฏิบัติจริงได้นะคะแล้วก็ต้องขออนุญาตดำเนินรายการสลับเป็นภาษาไทยภาษาอังกฤษไปมานะคะในส่วนของเซสชันนี้นะคะถ้าเกิดว่าในระหว่างที่วิทยากรบรรยายแล้วเรามีคำถามนะคะสามารถยกมือขึ้นถามได้เลยนะคะถ้าเกิดว่าไม่สะดวกใจจะถามเป็นภาษาอังกฤษก็เรามีเจ้าหน้าที่ที่ช่วยอำนวยความสะดวกให้นะคะ Before we proceed to the session, I would like to invite Mr. เฉลิมพลตู้จินดา Director of Technopreneur Development Service of National Science and Technology Development Agency to give us an opening speech. Mr. เฉลิมพล please.
Hi, Wadika. Good morning. I'd like to thank you, first of all, thank you Jawad to be here today with a lot of experience on many startups and successful getting funds from investors. And also thank you Kun Somkiat in Wealth Management, where if not Kun Somkiat giving time for Jawad, which coming into consulting the company, we wouldn't be listening today. And also Software Park, providing us the space. That's making a business incubation center be able to have this activity. Okay, I think getting money isn't difficult, is it? Right? If you go to the bank today, will you get money? Probably not, right? Unless you are like a couple of years in business and already make a lot of money and they want to give it to you. Right? When you need money, they don't want to give to you, but only give to you when you don't need one. Right? So who you turn to? You probably turn into your friend, your father, your fools, or whoever else willing to give you money, right? And that would be a lot easier to get from the bank, right? Probably we'll hear from Jawad soon. And in order to do that, they don't really need your credential of your assets or your house and everything else. They only need your dreams and how can you realize that dream to be reality. What are the elements of that? You will be here a lot today, and I hope that you can exercise that and make sure that you have a lot of money in order to produce product that would be speed up your away from competitor. Because one thing I believe is not to preventing people from copying your product, but how can you make your product to turn so fast, and your competitor cannot run fast enough to compete with you. So the company that already has certain size of people might need to expand in order to get the product move faster, to the product faster. And for the new startup one, probably want to somehow try to get into the market and be able to copy somebody else very fast as well. So it's a chasing game, I think. So today I hope that Kun Jawad would give all those insights and be able to benefit all of us. Thank you.
Thank you คุณเฉลิมพลค่ะ So next we will proceed to the session. The first session will cover under the topic pitching to customers, building customer persona for startup, and case studies of pitching to investor. Ladies and gentlemen, we are honored to have our guest speaker today, Mr. Jawad Farid. Mr. Farid asked us not to give a long introduction, but we are honored to have him today. So let me please. Mr. Farid is a fellow Society of Actuaries Chicago, an MBA from Columbia Business School in New York, and a computer science graduate. During last 19 years, he has worked as a consultant in North America, Pakistan, and UK with a number of blue chip clients, including Goldman Sachs, ING, Merrill Lynch, GE Financial Assurance, and Washington Mutual Banks. His core areas of expertise include asset risk management, investment, product and venture development, and financial service back office. So please give a warm welcome to Mr. Farid.
Thank you. All right. Let me just see if I can first of all, thank you very much for coming out in such large numbers. Is it okay if I close this? I think over the last few years, I've gone through a number of cycles, and my first degree is computer science, which basically means that I started playing with computers and laptops as my primary profession, and then over the years I started doing other interesting stuff with it. So went from a programmer to become a project manager, from a project manager to somebody who wanted to start his own business, and then started my own business, went out and raised some funding, ran it into the ground, then joined somebody else who was in the process of doing something, ran him into the ground, and then came back home to Pakistan and started a third venture, and that finally took off. So what I'm going to share with you in the next 2.5 hours is a number of things. But primarily, when I started working for myself, and I had to go out and explain or share with people what I did for a living, I realized that the way that I did it was possibly not the best possible way. And I was very lucky that I found mentors and teachers who helped me, who showed me the way of doing it the right way. And my hope is that by the time we're done with the session over the next 2 hours, I would be able to pass on some of that knowledge. That's one part of it. I think the second part of this is that I also work with my local technology industry association, which is PASHA. And at PASHA, we do a lot of, which is Pakistan Software House Association. We do a lot of mentoring for our own startups. So we have a PASHA Social Innovation Fund. We have a PASHA Launchpad event, which gives a small grant to the most promising startups with ideas. We also participate in the Asia Pacific ICT Awards. And I think over the last 3 or 4 years, we've done a lot of work on trying to build a framework that helps our companies get their point across, whether they're selling to investors or whether they're selling to customers. And as part of this process, we realized that pitching is something that could very easily be taught. Just like programming or building a product is a process, similar to that, selling is also a process. And this is something that I, at least as an engineer, did not understand. Even when I started running my business, I did not understand. I always thought that I could hire somebody. I could ask this friend here or ask you to sell my product for me. As long as I would build it, I would find somebody else to sell it. But what I realized, especially over the last 10 years of working as an entrepreneur, is that unless and until you sell for yourself, nobody else can sell for you. So the first thing that we have to get very, very comfortable with is the selling process. And to a large extent, pitching focuses on the selling process. That's what we'll talk about. So if I go through the agenda for today, I want to talk about a couple of things. Some I'm going to talk about very, very quickly. Others we're going to take a fair bit of time. There's at least one interactive exercise in there, and we'll try and use that to get a better sense, a better flavor of what we want to do. So I'll start off with, in my opinion, the reason why startups fail. I'm going to talk about something called the voice of the customer. Then I'm going to look at what we call, maybe the last 6 or 7 years of teaching entrepreneurship, and I'll pick a handful of case studies which I think my students did a good job, my mentees did a good job of presenting their ideas. Then we'll talk about, there is a framework for building your pitch, and that's called the customer development framework. So we'll talk about how do you build and develop customer personas. And then finally we'll close with what we call the product feature pain matrix, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items. We've got about 2.5 hours of net time, and we'll try to do the best job possible with this. So if you pick up a typical textbook on pitching, on selling, on starting up, you will see a very, very, very structured, very logical presentation of how a pitch should be made, right? So most people will say that when you think of a pitch, you start off with a basic concept of what your product idea is. Yeah. Then you define what problem this product idea solves. Then you figure out whether this market is large enough to be interesting. Then you figure out, how would you capitalize and work with the opportunity, who is the competition, what is your business model, as in how would you go about and make money, and then what's your special sauce, why do customers come and buy stuff from you, what do your numbers look like, and then why does it matter to the investor. That's sort of like a typical framework for pitching. Now, the challenge that we have is that we need to figure out how to compress the most interesting bits and pieces of this framework into a 90-second interaction. So, when I come in to you and I say, what's your name? Manav?
Call me Mark.
Mark. Good morning. So Mark, I'm Jawad Fareed, right? This is my introduction. I work for Alchemy Technologies. Alchemy Technologies does a number of things, but primarily for this specific interaction, I sell risk systems to the banking industry. Okay? You are?
D.
D. Right. So D, my name is Jawad Ahmed Fareed, and I sell risk training to the banking industry. And you are?
DR.
DR. Yeah. So DR, my name is Jawad Ahmed Fareed, and I teach entrepreneurship to executive MBA students. So these are three separate introductions. Risk systems, risk training, entrepreneurship training, right? And effectively what I've done in these 10-second interactions is say, my name is Jawad Ahmed Fareed and I work for Alchemy Technologies, and Alchemy Technologies sells risk systems, risk training, entrepreneurship training. Right? Now, how do I decide that when I speak to Mark, I should pitch risk systems? When I speak to, I'm an old man, my apologies, I have a very short memory frame, D. So when I speak to D, how do I decide that I should sell risk training? And when I speak to this gentleman here, how do I decide I should sell entrepreneurship training? Right? So this is one part of the exercise. But then the next part of the exercise is of all of these elements. So the concept, the problem, the market sizing, the opportunity, the competition, the model, the special sauce, the numbers, and the so what. Which are the most relevant pieces that should become part of the conversation? And how do you bring them into the conversation? So, how many of you play chess? Chess? One? Checkers? Strategy games? Civilization? There you go. Alright. So if you play Civilization, or any such game that has multiple layers, multiple levels of actions that you have to plan out, a pitch is exactly like that. A pitch is a conversation. It's a multi-step, multi-stage conversation, and you need to plan it out. But you can't deliver a pitch on the spot. Something that you have to think through, something that you have to plan through. So for example, if I'm pitching to an investor, right? If I'm pitching to an investor, how does my pitch change? If I'm pitching to an investor, the investor is concerned with one specific fact. And that one specific fact is that the largest number of startups fail not because they don't have the right idea, not because they don't have the right product, not because they run out of cash. The largest number of startups fail because they don't know how to sell, that they can't sell, that they can't close a transaction, that they can build a product, build the collateral, build the marketing around that, but they can't actually go out, shake a hand and get cash out of it. Right? That's the challenge. And so if I'm presenting to an investor, for an investor, there are two layers or two stages of a pitch. The first layer is this. Who is the customer? What is his pain? What is bothering him? Why would he go out in the market and buy a product? I must have some requirement, right? I must have some issue. The reason why I bought this tie is because I'm coming and presenting. I need to look good. The reason why I bought this shirt is because I want to be comfortable. The reason why I have this pointer is because I want the ability to walk around this room away from my laptop. The reason why I use this stylus is because I want to make sure that I can help you focus on the point that I'm trying to make. Right? So these are all pain points that led to a given product purchase. The first thing an investor wants to understand when you present to him is how well do you understand your customer? Step one. And second, if you understand your customer and you build a product for that customer's need, how would you go out and sell it? Do you understand the process? Do you understand that it's a multi-step process? Do you have a strategy? Do you have a script? Do you have a plan for each of those stages? And then after this comes, what do your numbers look like? After this comes, why would he buy from you? After this comes the so what question, why is this relevant? So we spoke about ventures failing. Right? If you go back to let's say a framework for failure, you will find that when we start a business, and we start a business either for the first time or for the second time or the third time, there are different stages at which you can fail. So the first one is a stage one, or an opportunity cost decision. This is a question or a stage that people face when they're thinking about doing something. You haven't started a business, you're evaluating it. You're thinking whether it's worth my while to run and work for myself. So in a stage one business, the example that I give is that you want to go for a swim. So you go to the beach and you go out and you sort of tap your toes in the water, and you don't like the water because it's too cold, or because it's dirty, or because it's too warm, or you change your mind. So you say, I don't want to go for a swim today. So this stage one decision is like tapping your toes in the water to see whether you want to go for a swim or not. And in most cases, we will spend, as entrepreneurs, a month, 2 months, at max 3 months of our life on this idea. We will do the basic analysis, we will do the numbers, we might even build a prototype, we will speak to friends, we take our time to investigate. But we would stop at this stage. And the reason why we stop at this stage is because we find that the idea is not right, we find that the timing is off, we find that we can't raise capital or find investors to fund this, and after spending these 3 months, we walk away. Right? So a number of ventures stop or fail, and large majority of them stop and fail here at this stage because they can't get past stage one. And this is fine. From a financial point of view, this is not too much of an issue. Come to the launch. These are startups that have spent a year, sometimes as much as 2 or 3 years in building a product. So the product is ready. But they fail because the product is not the right product, or the product is broken, or the product is stale, it's old. When you started building it 3 years ago, it was exciting. 3 years later, it's not as exciting. Pricing is not relevant. You haven't understood the drivers that push pricing. You haven't placed the product correctly. You don't know how to sell. Or you do all of this, but you fail to ship. You can't ship it. Right? So you keep on moving it till you actually run out of cash. So of the small lot that comes out of stage one, there's a large number that fails in stage two. Right? Come on. Hello. So there's a large number that fails on stage two. Right? And in stage two, again taking the swimming example, you go for a swim. So you tap your toes, you like the water, you jump into the water, and you're having a great time, and then suddenly you get stung by a jellyfish. You pull a cramp, you almost drown. But because you're strong, you are able to make it back to the beach. So you have a bad scare, right? So you've done 2.5 years of your life, and you lost a large part of your net worth, but you're okay. It's not that bad. However, if you'd gotten maybe one of these elements right, it would have worked. Was one of these, we don't know which one, we don't know which one would be the case in your case, and I'll ask this question later. But a stage 2 is a little bit more painful than a stage 1 failure. And then there is scale. So you off the block, you make a lot of money, you do very, very well, and then you decide to expand. So you're exceedingly successful in Thailand or in Pakistan, and you decide to go to the Middle East or to Europe or to other parts of the Far East or to North America. And you fail because you either grow too fast, or you fail to expand, or you don't have enough depth, or you're out of talent. So it could be any of these reasons. And now when you fail here, the example or the instance, going back to the swimming case, is that you tap your water in the door, you go for a swim, you have a really nice time, and you're never seen again. You don't come back. The water claims you, the sea claims you. Right? So a stage 3 failure is a much more significant failure. Stage 3 failure will knock you out for 10, 15, 20 years of your life. It will take that much for you to come back. But in almost every single one of them, the primary challenge, the reason why these failures, the most common cause is I can't sell. Or, so I did a very good job of selling in my market. When I moved to North America, I hired a head of sales who wasn't able to deliver. Right? I did a very good job of building a product at this stage in one segment, but when I moved to a different segment, I did not do a good job of working with the customer. My pitch was not right. My pricing wasn't right. So many of these. Now, there are many other reasons. So I have this list of top 10 reasons why small businesses fail, top 10 reasons why startups fail. And if we have time at the end of this class, we'll talk a bit about that. But for now, the reason why I'm focused on selling is that if you could learn how to sell, if you get the fear of selling out of your system, you understand how the process works. It's just like programming. You open the tool that you program in, you start off with the variable declaration, you go out and start your first loop, and then you repeat and repeat and repeat. Same thing with selling. Selling is a process. Let's just figure out how does that process work and then work with that. And then once we understand this, it would be far more easier for us to communicate the promise of our idea, the promise of our dream to investors as well as customers. So what is selling? The first piece is what I call the voice of the customer. This is a PowerPoint presentation remote. Yeah. Why would somebody buy it? The cost of this remote, the cost of building this remote is probably under $1. It sells, depending on where you buy it, anywhere between $15 to $50. So why would somebody pay $15 for something that costs $1 to manufacture? Or even $50 for something that costs $1 to manufacture? Right? The reason why it sells for this much is A, because when you're presenting, now think of yourself as a presenter at a large conference. Think of 500 people sitting to hear you speak. What's the first thing that comes to your mind? When you stand in front of that audience, what do you want to do? What do you want? You're a presenter at a large conference. What do you want to do? You want to impress them, right? You want to make a good, solid impression. Now, you can make an impression with interesting colors. You can make an impression by a powerful presentation. You can make an impression by sitting on your laptop and speaking, and then manually moving this back and forth, right? Or you can move an impression, make an impression by walking around the room, by connecting with your audiences, by shaking their hands, by talking to them, by making eye contact, right? And yet at the same time, controlling your PowerPoint presentation at the touch of a button. So history indicates, and powerful speakers indicate, that the punch of your delivery is a lot more stronger if you walk around. The power of your delivery is a lot more stronger if you go out and connect with the audience. And what this remote effectively does is that it frees you up to make a powerful impact. Same thing goes with this, right? The hands-free, the collar mic. The reason why most presenters use a collar mic or a head mic is because it frees up their hands. And again, history and teachers indicate that if you gesture, if you use your hand, if you use lots of actions in your presentation, you have a more stronger, more powerful connection with your audience. So in both these cases, the primary reason why people buy these products is because the pain is not that I want to point a laser pointer on the screen. The reason why we buy these products is because we want to make an impression, because we want to be free. That's the pain. So the voice of the customer is primarily the underlying pain that your product is trying to address and solve. You have to understand this. Once you've understood this, you have to figure out what's the best way of presenting it. Once you've understood this, you have to figure out what's the right way of pricing it so that the customer has the right incentives to buy and you still make money from the process. And then once you've got these three done, you need to go out and create a list of people who would buy this, present it to that list, and follow up. Right? That's the sales process. That's all there is to it. Understand why they want to buy a product, figure out how to present it, price it so that there's an incentive to buy, go out and find people who would possibly ideally want to buy it, and talk to them, present to them, pitch to them, and then follow up. I came and spoke to you, are you still interested? Came and spoke to you, is there anything I can provide you to make the closing decision? And so on and so forth. Right? So, what is the voice of the customer? What does it look like? The voice of the customer has 4 primary pieces that we are interested in. What's the first piece? The first piece is his pain points. And let me give you an example. So let's look at the voice of a customer when the customer is somebody like me. Right? And who is me? So I am somebody who travels almost about 75 to 80,000 kilometers a year. Every year, right? So I am on the road almost every alternate week. And I have this laptop, which is a nicer, lighter laptop. I have this Galaxy Note. I have this stylus. And then what else do I have? I have this projector, remote. And then business cards, hard drive, knee pads, bad knees. What else is there? Cell phone SIMs. Lots of writing pads. Right. Keep on looking. No. Cell phones, USB drive, more cell phones, passports. See? This is what a passport looks like after you traveled 100,000 miles on average for a couple of years. Okay? And then wallet. That's it. Okay, so now there's a lot of stuff, and some of it is very expensive stuff, right? So this laptop about $2,000, hard drive about $150, Galaxy Note about $700, right? On average, this laptop, if you add everything that's in here, including the data, has about $5,000 to $8,000 worth of inventory in it. Okay. And if you've gone on lots and lots of flights, gone through lots and lots of airport, you go through security, yeah. You go through an additional layer of airline security, you go through baggage claims, and then you push it in the stack up there. So this can actually take a lot of damage. So what do you want? First you want a layer of protection. Second, some of this stuff is very, very small, so you don't want the bag to tear. So the first thing you notice about this bag is that it's made of the same material that you make parachutes from, so it doesn't tear. Right? Second, count. 1. Right? This is one storage area, and within the storage area you can't see this 1, 2, 3, and 4 separate folds. 2, 3, 4, there's one more, 5, 6, 7. So 7 separate pockets for ease of access, for ease of use, for storing stuff, right? I have a slightly bigger version, a bigger brother of this bag, in which I carried about 60 kilos onto an aircraft. So when you're a poor, broke entrepreneur and you're only traveling in economy class and you have lots of stuff to carry around, you're in conferences and exhibition, stuff sort of adds up. You don't want to pay the extra that airlines charge for extra luggage. Just stuff it in the bag. But the problem is, if you already have $10,000 worth of inventory in the bag, you don't want to damage it, right? You want to make sure the bag is easy. Third is, if you already have, where are my knee pads? There you go. If you already have bad knees, imagine what carrying 60 kilos does to your frame. So the other good reason why this bag is such a great bag is because if you see how it fits, it evenly distributes the weight on my shoulders. If you look, fits very snugly in the small of my bag. So if it's very, very heavy, part of the weight is here, part of the weight gets here, part of the weight gets supported here. So now if this is the product, think about the customer. If you buy a laptop bag, and I've been buying laptop bags for 10 years, the first thing that goes is the base. So 9. So there's another space for you to store stuff here, right? The second thing that goes are the zips. The third thing that goes is this. This thing that holds this, that you use to pull the zip back and forward, right? I have been looking for the perfect laptop bag for about 10 years, and I found High Sierra in 2005 in Malaysia. And when I first found it, I just walked into a shop and there was nobody who was selling it. There was nobody who was pushing it. There was nobody standing outside saying, buy this bag, buy this bag. Just walked into this shop that was selling bags. I wanted to look at it. And I saw a High Sierra bag. I said, this looks very interesting. The reason why it looked interesting was that the zips looked solid. They didn't look flimsy. This looked solid, didn't look flimsy. The bag's overall appeal said this is very strong, non-tearable. And then when I wore it, I said, this I must try. So I bought my first High Sierra bag in 2005. I have not bought any of the brands since then. My roll-on is a High Sierra. My large roll-on is also High Sierra. I have maybe 5 High Sierra bags like this at home. So anytime my company buys a laptop, we go out and buy a High Sierra bag, right? And the reason why this is such a big hit is because, think of this profile. The pain point of a business traveler, one, in the ages of maybe 25 to 45 is what? He has a lot of stuff which needs to be accessed at short notice. He travels a great deal. There you go. So he travels a great deal, right? And because he travels a great deal, he carries this a lot. And And because he's in the ages of 25 and 44, there's a good chance that he's either overweight, or that his knees, or that his ankles, or that his back, or his shoulders, or his neck has an issue. So he either suffers from spondylitis, or he has a bad vertebra, or he has a bad knee, or he has a bad ankle, or a combination, or he's overweight. It's a combination of all these factors. So he wants a bag that allows him to distribute the pain. Does he care about the price tag? Somebody who travels 100,000 kilometers, somebody who spends, so I spent 12 hours coming to Thailand, I spent 12 hours going back home. So that's about 24 hours in a week. Somebody who travels 24 hours in a week, does he or she care about the price tag? Not really, right? As long as you meet all of these requirements, as long as you give him good value, he doesn't. Which then tells me that I would actually suspect that this bag was designed by a traveler for other travelers. It wasn't designed by a marketing company, it was designed by a traveler for a traveler, which is even a big hit. And I've been telling Khun Sumkhyat for the last 3 days, and Audi over there for the last 3 days, that I want to buy one more bag. Because I can only buy these in Thailand, in Indonesia, in Kuala Lumpur, and in China. So I planned my trips around buying these bags. One of the reasons why I came to Thailand, among other things, was to come out and buy the bags. There's an online address I have to look up and find out. So I looked at the distributors of High Sierra bags, and I said, okay, I can't go to Kuala Lumpur, can't go to Singapore, come to Thailand, so buy a bag. So now if you come back here, if you've understood what the pain points are, how do you find him? How do you find this customer? Where do you find people? Where do you find people who travel a lot? So now, people who travel a lot do what? They stay in hotels, right? So they book through hotel sites. So I book through hotel sites. I book through booking.com. Previously I used to book with hotels.com. So they book through booking sites. Do people like this who travel a lot read in-flight magazines? Do they? Remember, if you travel Emirates and you've gone back and forth, how many times will you read the same in-flight magazine, right? You read it once. So they don't read in-flight magazines. What else do they do? Do they shop? You don't, right? Do they shop on the duty free? Don't. Because so you need to figure out, if this is the profile of this person, how do you reach him? So where do you reach him? But to understand where do you reach him, you need to figure out that where does this guy eat? Where does he sleep? What does he drive? What does he wear? What's his education like? Who are his friends? Who are the people who influence him? How do I influence him through his friends? What have I just done? Some of you will go out and be exceedingly successful in your startups. Others would be exceedingly successful working for others. Right? Some of you would go out and take a job. Some of you will build companies that are very, very famous. Some point in time in your life, you will travel 100,000 miles. When you start traveling 100,000 miles, which bag will you buy? You'll buy a High Sierra. Right? The reason why you buy a High Sierra is because you were influenced by an influencer. I'm an influencer, right? If I'm standing in front of 40 people and teaching you something, there's a very good chance that some of it will seep in. But one example that you will remember is that when you go shop for a High Sierra bag, you buy a High Sierra bag. Effectively what I've done is I've become an evangelist for this brand. I'm a salesman for this brand. I get no commissions. Right? I'd be very happy to just get one more bag like this. But despite that, 40 people are prospective customers who are now aware of this brand, who were not aware of it before. So for me to figure out how to reach him, I need to figure out how is this person defined. If I ask you to close your eyes, go on, lean back, close your eyes. Close your eyes. No peeking, no cheating. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. Now, I'm going to ask you a handful of questions. Question number 1. What does somebody who travels 100,000 miles a year look like? Is he tall or thin? Is he wearing sneakers or party shoes? Is he wearing a jeans or a khaki? Wearing a t-shirt or a button down? Is he carrying a roll-on or a backpack? Is he traveling economy or business? Is he overweight or underweight? Is he veg or non-veg? Does he exercise? Doesn't he exercise? Does he go to a club? Does he watch movies? Does he read? Does he read fiction or non-fiction? Which newspaper is he carrying in his bag? Is he carrying The Economist, the FT, the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, the whatever is the requisite Thailand equivalent? How much money does he have in his wallet? What's his income profile? How many hours does he work? Which laptop does he use? Does he have an iPad, an iPhone, an iTouch, or a Galaxy Note? In terms of electronics, what's his annual budget? If you look and answer all of these questions, you should be able to put together a visual picture. You should be able to draw it. And if you can draw it, you solved the first big step of selling. Open your eyes. Later on in our session, we will do an exercise where we'll walk through how other companies visualize their customers. So one of the things that we'll do is we'll actually go through a series of ads and we'll try and decipher, identify keywords for customers that we think those companies are targeting, right? Which will sort of take us on. But between now and the end of the session, in your subconscious, I want you to keep on thinking about what does your customer look like. Customer for your product looks like. And I want you to cover each of the elements that I've covered here. The pain point, the needs, the demographics, and the pitch. What was the pitch for this bag? What was the pitch for this bag? For me, the bag sold itself, right? But the pitch for this bag was ample storage, parachute material, strong zips, even distribution of weight. Right? Okay, now once you understand what you need to sell and who you're selling it to, you have to figure out how to tell it in a nice story. Right? So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 pieces of telling a great story. The first thing that you have to do when you tell a great story is engage the audience, whether that audience is one person or a full group. And when you think in terms of engaging the audience, you have to go back to the pain point and figure out what's the easiest, the smoothest, the most natural transition from the pain point that the customer has to your product. And we'll talk a bit more about this a little later. Here's my remote. Remote. There you go. Okay. Now, this transition going from what the customer needs and wants to what you have is the primary plot of the story. Right? But there are 2 rules or 3 rules that you have to follow. The first rule that you have to follow is, if I'm a customer or an investor and you're presenting to me, I want you to respect my intelligence. And when I say respect my intelligence, I want you to not generalize. I don't want you to go out and say that there are 10 million people who use this product, I'm going to get 1% of that market share, and once I get that 1% market share, I'm done. That doesn't work. I don't want to go out and say that there's product A, B, C, and D in the market and mine is better because it does one little itsy bitsy bit a little better. So the easiest way of respecting my intelligence is to not make claims that are not defensible, not make claims that are not relevant, not make claims. I'd not say that here is a $200 bag, that's the best bag in the world. Did I say that? I didn't mention the price. What did I do? I actually physically demonstrated and showed you the number of storage boxes, the storage capacity, even distribution. I used the product in front of you so that you could relate to it. Right? And more importantly, I don't know if you noticed, I linked it very, very subtly to, for a lot of people, travel is exotic, is glamorous. Being a frequent flyer, being a member of an elite business class is exotic, right? So I linked this to this. This is an association. But I did this not by saying that you can only use this bag if you're successful. Did I say that? You didn't say that, right? That you can use this bag if you have a specific need. And that's all part of respecting your intelligence. This is one. Second part of respecting my intelligence is I want you to get to the point. My name is Jawad Ahmed Fareed and I sell High Sierra bags. These are bags meant for people who have a lot of valuable electronic stuff in their bags, who travel very, very frequently, and who would prefer a bag that fits their body just like a well-drawn, well-measured suit. Right? That's what this bag is. So my pitch is, rather than tell you a long story about why laptop bags are bad or why travel is important, I just want to get to the point very, very quickly, as quickly as possible. When I judge presentations by companies who are presenting in competitions, the companies who do well are companies who come in and say, my name is, and what do you do, Mark? Okay, so what are you planning on doing? Alright. So my name is Mark, and I'm going to build a solution that will change the world. And it will change the world by doing something specifically to make it up. Which industry? Social network. And why would it be special? Okay, so my name is Mark, and I'm going to change the world by helping companies use social networks to build their brand. Right? I have two customers, Jenny here and Sumkyat here, that you can talk to after we're done with this session. Right? Yes, sir. You are.
Yeah, I'm Charlie.
Okay, and what do you do?
Digital marketing.
Okay, and why is that special?
I'm so built with the software, like it can also show up on the 16 platforms.
Okay, so if I ask you to define digital marketing,
Yep.
let's say I have a book that I've written that I want to sell using social media, what can you do for me?
Sure. So I can put into the App Store also. I have
Okay.
options also for you.
Okay,
So you can do it by yourself, create the price for you,
okay,
and then let the customers make a decision which one is the best for them.
okay. How would you get the word out about my product?
So I have the central of the bookshelf.
Mm-hmm.
That's called a Thai Wiki link.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be spread out. Okay.
Right.
And I'm doing the search engine also.
Okay, so my name is,
Shirley?
okay, and I do digital marketing,
Yeah.
and I can help you get the word out because I have
The digital solution,
a digital solution, which is
which is can help the customers to
by getting the word out.
Yeah.
Because I have what? I already have properties
Yes.
that have a lot of followers, that
Yes.
get a lot of traffic,
Yeah.
that can very quickly get your word out as quickly as possible.
Yes.
Right? So, both conversations, my name is, Mark. Mark, I want to do digital marketing. My name is Shaulin, I want to do digital marketing. He is more specific because he's sort of gone further on the road, has more clear ideas and a very clear definition of what he can do for me very, very quickly. And there is something called the roadmap to credibility. Now, the roadmap to credibility is, my name is Jawad Ahmed Fareed, I'm a computer scientist, and I'm going to build and develop a vaccine for cancer. Is that credible? Not right. What has computer science got to do with cancer? My name is Jawad Ahmed Fareed, and I am a PhD in computational biology, and I build a protein matrix that allows me to test multiple vaccines faster than anybody else. I'm going to use that to develop a vaccine for cancer. More credible? Okay. My name is Jawad Ahmed Fareed. I have a PhD in computational biology. I built a protein matrix. I built a protein matrix that I'm going to use to test different vaccines for different diseases. And we just signed up Merck and Pfizer as the first customer. More credible, right? Same thing. My name is Jawad Ahmed Fareed. I have signed Merck and Pfizer as the first customer, and we've already tested about 2,000 variations in the last 12 months. Even more credible, right? So a roadmap to credibility answers one specific question. One specific question is what? That one specific question is, we, the audience, can see him, Jawad, do what he is claiming to do. He can do this. He has everything he needs to do this. He has the knowledge, he has the background, the experience, the tools, the references, the clients, the customers. So when you pitch to either investors or you pitch to customers, investors and customers both have the same challenge. They know this. They know that if you're at this stage, 90% of you will fail. They know that if at this stage, 90% of you will fail. They know that if at this stage, 90% of you will fail. So of the 10 people who come in, 5 years down the road, maybe only 1 is left. They don't want to spend money on products that will not be supported. They don't want to spend money on products that will not grow and evolve because you're not doing well as a business. They want to spend money on products that are winners. And they use your sales pitch, your interaction with them to assess only one thing. Can you sell and will you be successful? And when you sell to them, once you've gotten this right, this right, this right, this right, this right, they look at this. Can you do, given all the information that you've shared, can you do this well? Will you be successful in delivering on your promise? So you go back to the plot, right? And the plot is the entire story, right? How many of you have seen Mission Impossible 4? MI4, show of hands. Okay. MI3? Same people. MI1, hands. Okay. Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull. You guys don't watch movies? this group over here. So, if you think about a good movie, if you think about a good entertaining movie, what does a good movie look like? A good movie looks like this. There's this guy here, right? And he needs and wants something which is here. So in MI4, it's an impossible mission that has to be achieved, which is in Dubai. Right? In Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull, there's a search for a crystal skull, and the whole story revolves around that. But what makes the movie interesting is that there's this huge wall or hurdle between this guy. Correct? And the entire movie revolves around how this guy gets around that wall. And that wall could be a villain, that wall could be a shortage of resources, that wall could be anything. So, when you tell a great story, story has two pieces. There are two players, two entities, two objects. One is the person who needs or wants something. Two is the stuff that is being sought. Okay? And a good plot sets this up very, very clearly. So in this movie, in MI4, Tom Cruise is the hero, right? In Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull, Harrison Ford is the hero, right? In this movie, and this is the movie that you are building, the one that you are recording for your product, in your movie, who's the hero? Who's the hero? Customer is the hero. So now, the secret of a great pitch. Secret of a great pitch is a great pitch understands that the hero is the customer. This is his pain. This is what he needs and wants. And your product is the plot that allows him to get through these walls, get over these walls, get rid of these factors. A bad pitch, a terrible pitch, is a pitch where the hero is you, the entrepreneur. Secret of a great pitch is, a great pitch that sells is not that my name is Jawad Ahmed Fareed, I have a bachelor's in computer science, I work for Goldman Sachs, I've worked for the last 20 years, I've done this. No, that's not the great pitch. Secret of a great pitch is my customer is a CXO of a bank. My customer is a board member that sits on the board of directors of a bank. He travels 100,000 kilometers a year, and he would like to catch up on his risk-related, his compliance-related education when he's traveling. I have built a simple application that allows him to download the right content for this field, for this space on his handset. That he can view when he's going to the airport, when he's sitting in the aircraft, when he's commuting back and forth, when sitting in the train. And it's easy, he doesn't have to read it, he just needs to put his headphones on, close his eyes and listen, or if he wants to watch. So what's the pain? My customer is a senior executive, a board member who needs to educate himself, doesn't have the time. The only free time he has is in the aircraft, in the bathroom, in the car. That's it. Rest of the time is always on the phone. Doesn't have time to log into the internet, open his laptop. He just wants the ability to have the right content, shortlisted, selected, approved, recommended on his handset so that he can listen to it whenever he wants to listen. Right? The short story, short pitch. What's the context? Customer, the BOD member, the senior executive, what's the pain? Wants to learn, wants to grow. But now the story is still not powerful enough because wants to learn, wants to grow is not enough. What makes it interesting is my customer is a senior executive who needs to catch up to compliance, to risk, to governance. Because if he makes a mistake here on the risk compliance governance side, everything that he's done over the last 20 years as a professional will go to waste. One slap of the wrist by the Bank of Thailand, by the SEC, by the board, by the industry, and everything that you built over the last 20 years is gone. One penalty, one fine, one fee, and you have an issue. And he simply doesn't have the time in his day. All he has the time is when he commutes or he travels. Alright. So if we move on to the next stage is where once we figured out what the plot and the story is, the next stage is how do you make money? So what are you selling? What are you selling? Are you selling a product? Are you selling a feature? Close enough? Idea? You selling There you go. You're selling Advil. You're selling the drug that solves his pain, that removes his pain, that fixes his pain, right? So from a pitching point of view, you're not selling, I'm selling courses on risk management. No, no. What am I selling? I'm selling the fact that you need to catch up on the field and see what's happening in the field. Who is buying? What does a board member look like? What does a bank CXO look like? For how much? Does this guy care about money? Does it make a difference whether it's $100, $200, $300, $400, $500? Doesn't, right? How frequently will he use it? You're going to download the course once, twice, thrice. He's going to take 1 course, 2 course, 3 course, 4 course, 5 course. How many courses? How do you make money? How do you put all of this together to a point where there's money in your wallet at the end of the exercise? So let me tell you a story. My first venture that I started at Columbia was a company called Avicina, which was a company that focused on e-education. This is 1999. My second company, first company was Cucaracha, second was Avicina. Third was Alchemy, which was the risk practice. Fourth was a risk publication that did what The Economist did for the world, it did that for Pakistan. The fifth was Oil Insights, where you covered oil. The sixth was Learning Corporate Finance, or 4 quants, which sort of grew out to be what you saw here, right? The handset application. Now, of these, this was a big failure. This was a big failure. This, if you remember the hierarchy, we had stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. This failed in stage 3. Went through stage 1, went through stage 2, failed in stage 3. This right now is in stage 2. Okay. But what is here right now in stage 2 failed here and here in stage 2. Okay. So it went back and forth. Now, the purpose and objective of walking you through this is sometimes it takes a very long time, in my case 10 years, to understand the profile of your customer, to understand how to sell to them, to understand how to work with them, to understand what they want. Sometimes you're lucky enough that your profile is exactly the same as the profile of your customer, that you can understand their pain. Sometimes you're not. Sometimes you have to sit down and think what's happening. For you to do a good job of pitching and selling and ultimately converting, you actually have to spend a lot more time in closing your eyes and thinking and visualizing who your customer is and what he or she looks like. So what we're going to do next is, when we come back after the break, is we'll do 2 pieces. The first piece is we'll actually look at a handful of adverts from very well-known brands, and we'll use those adverts to figure out and identify who the underlying customer is for those brands. 1. Second, we'll go through 6 or 7 pitches that have been made for people that I've worked with in the past, and look at how they presented their dreams and their ideas in such a fashion that we could understand and relate to their story. My hope is that by completing this exercise, you get a good sense, good flavor of what are some of the things that you could use and apply in your ideas and efforts. Right? I think we have time for a break now. Yes?
Okay, but before we going for our break, would you like to have any question? Anyone has a question? If not, we will take a 20 minutes break and enjoy your refreshment in front of the meeting room, and we'll come back here in 10:45.
Thank you. We had fun?